We need to stop normalizing women getting an education. Education is literally ruining our sisters. Most of them don't even know how to run a household. Most of them aren't marriage material. Most of them are becoming the men that they want to marry. They go, they study to become a doctor or a lawyer or this, that, and the other. And in the end, when they're 30, 35, unmarried, and barren, they're looking for the doctor at that age. They're looking for the lawyer. They're looking for the successful businessman at that age. Why is this? Because the fathers have prioritized education over them becoming housewives, becoming people that, women that are women. Not every woman needs to be educated and go get a college degree and this, that, and other. We don't need a billion doctors. Disgusting the state that we're in. But no, these fathers are okay with their daughters going to colleges where they end up committing zina because marriage is not fulfilled and it's put on the back burner.
This is another one of those videos that the first time I saw it, I thought it had to be satire. And then I went and watched his whole entire page. And this man is very serious and very passionate about not liking the changes in the world for women and wanting to shove his Islamic sisters back into the itty bitty little box that he thinks they belong in. By the way, my name is Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take Two, where I share how I escaped from the very itty bitty little Mormon trad wife life that I found myself shoved into. When I turned 14 years old, I found myself in the officially being able to interact with guys phase of my life. Why age 14? Because that's when Mormon young women and young men are officially able to go to church-sponsored dances. In the area that I grew up, which was Gresham, Oregon, during my high school years, we had a stake dance at one of the stake centers 3 weeks out of the month. So Saturday night, I would put on a dress down to my knees and some type of a modest blouse, nylons and high heels, and off I would go with my little dance card, which said that my bishop approved of me being at that dance. Just for a little bit of context, it has nothing to do with this video. I turned 14 in 1986, so I was dancing to Depeche Mode, Cyndi Lauper, a little bit of Madonna, although most of her songs were not appropriate for the stake dances. They did play La Isla Bonita quite a bit, and I was obsessed. I want you to know that I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm just illustrating my point that I'm going to get to in this video. So don't think that I'm stuck up. I actually had terrible self-esteem, and to this day, I'm still diagnosed with dysmorphia disorder, but I am regaining my confidence. I feel like I have to say the whole thing just so that I can say that very quickly as I started going to these Mormon youth dances, I started to notice that I was very desirable, partly for things that I had absolutely no control over. I was just born to Scandinavian and German and Scottish and English ancestors. I had platinum hair and big blue eyes, and I was all of like 96 pounds with a double D bra and a big, bright smile. So I was pretty. I wish I'd had the self-esteem to appreciate it then, but I didn't. But I was aware that a lot of boys wanted to dance with. I was also gifted with a high IQ. I was hardworking. I was so righteous. I would go to multiple different churches on Sundays, not just my home ward, but I'd go to wards with my friends, some of my people from my seminary class. I was in the seminary presidency, the young women's presidency. I started playing the organ when I was like 12 years old. So I'm this little teeny platinum haired, blue eyed ward organist. I was so righteous, so pretty, so blonde, so boobylicious, innocent and naive, and boy, could I bake a cherry pie and raise those babies. And I also came from a background where I lacked the resources that I needed to be secure in life. My dad, in part because of his participation in the Mormon church, was broke as a joke. During most of my childhood, trying to raise 5 kids on a janitor's income, assistant head custodian in a local high school. And we lived in a home where I never had enough food to eat or matching socks. And I was always just a little bit needy, which made me needy, desperate, and far more likely to put up with all kinds of bad behavior from boys because of that desperation. And because the bar in my life had been set so low that after being driven to school day after day in my dad's beat up custodian truck that had paint and rust falling off the sides and tires that were always just a little bit flat, when he pulled up in front of my school, it would sometimes backfire. If a guy just had a cool truck that didn't have any rust on it, I was thrilled. And because I had been so sheltered, I really hadn't been out in the world at all. I loved to watch the news and keep up on current events. But when I went to college and started dating these returned missionaries, if some guy had been in Okinawa for 2 years preaching the Mormon gospel and he knew how to roll sushi, I frankly was completely blown away because I had never seen anything in the world. There's this one couple that I went to church with growing up. They were about 10 years older than me, so not old enough to be my parents' generation. That would have been nerdy. They were like the young newlyweds having babies. They were rich as hell. They had $1 million house over on Maui and then another huge ranch that they'd go spend summers at in southern Arizona, and a gorgeous, brand new, remodeled, like, was it a Victorian Tudor, some type of fancy house in Portland. By their late 20s, early 30s, this couple was independently wealthy. They were absolutely gorgeous. They were the it couple that I think every little Mormon kid in our whole entire state wanted to be. I worshipped these guys. They were everything that I was living for. And one night, after I had graduated from Rick's College, I was a little poor but pretty waitress at the Olive Garden, and this couple sat down at my table. They asked me what I was up to. I told them that I had been off to college and that I was engaged. I was getting married in just a couple months, and they ignored that completely and spent the whole time they were sitting at my table telling me about this returned missionary friend of theirs that Josh presented to me as, "This guy is your future husband, Jenny." By the end of their meal, I would write my phone number on their receipt. They would go home, call a return missionary named Jake, and tell him, "We just found your future wife. She is perfect. She's pretty and she's righteous. And she seems like she would be the perfect wife and mom." Now remember, this couple did know me growing up, so it wasn't just that hour sitting at my table, but I was joked that I must have done a really good job grating that Romano cheese with my Olive Garden cheese grater. Within 6 weeks, I was married to my husband of 24 years. I didn't know it at the time, but as an adult, going back through my past, there was really only one reason why I married Jake. I had grown up in a culture where women are only to be married. They're not supposed to really be educated to be anything or have lives or passions outside of having children and taking care of their home and their husband. That is all I had been ever raised for. My whole entire childhood was a trad wife immersion program. I went to Rick's College and took a couple of classes towards a degree that I hoped I might use someday and never have. But I also took dating and marriage. It's an actual class. You can still Google it on the BYU website. I took child development. I took religion classes. I took music. I took an interior decorating class so that I could decorate my home someday. And because I was never educated in anything that would actually make me any money or provide for myself, I lacked the resources to live in the world. My lack of education, my lack of income generating skills, my lack of understanding of how the world worked made me good for only one thing, and that was to be a wife and a mother. And even at the wedding, my husband was abusive, and I saw red flags flying all over the place that this was not going to be an easy life. But I was just so happy that we had a nice house and nice cars and a brand new vacuum cleaner, and that I was able to buy my babies the cutest new clothes from Baby Gap, which is something that I'd never had in childhood. As bad as my marriage was, it was a step up. Here's the part I want you to listen to. If I had had an education, I wouldn't have put up with any of that. I would have been able to just walk away. Thank goodness it's not 1995 or 1988 anymore. It's year 2024, and more women than ever are becoming educated and financially self reliant. And the men are losing their marbles. Why exactly are they losing their marbles, you might ask? This seems like a benefit that women can actually provide for themselves and help their husbands. The men are so used to just bing, 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 bankrolling us and not having any other expectations that they don't even know how to show up in relationships. They're used to being able to treat us like crap while getting fat and bald and not bringing anything to the table. But we stay anyway because we need the stuff. But now all of a sudden we have our own stuff.